Language Experience Approach by Jessica Huron, created for ED 311-316 for the winter semester of 2009. The language experience approach was first described in the 1960s by Professor Roach Van Allen. His support of this approach to reading and writing instruction was that LEA not only provides enthusiasm for reading and writing through the use of students' own words, but that this approach helps students make the connection that words on paper really are just talking that has been written down. Professor Van Allen describes the natural bridge that the language experience approach creates between spoken language and written language. What I can think about, I can talk about. What I can say, I can write. What I can write, I can read. I can read what I can write and what other people can write for me to read. You can see how each line is a progression of literacy ability, and the language experience approach helps beginning readers and writers develop into stronger, more independent students. The basic idea behind the language experience approach, often called LEA, is that young readers and writers discuss an experience or subject with a teacher who then writes down what the student is saying in the student's own words. This approach makes reading and writing fun because the student's own words become their reading material. With LEA, teachers are engaging in shared writing. The students are suggesting the material and words to be written down, but the teacher does the actual writing. Students may assist in spelling high-frequency words should they come across them. LEA can be used in a one-on-one setting with a small group of students or even with the entire class. It is very flexible and personalized to the student's abilities and interests. The language experience approach truly gives students ownership in their learning process. The language experience approach integrates all aspects of language arts, especially speaking and listening, as both are present in nearly every piece of LEA. Because the material created is completely generated by the students, there is automatically predictable reading material for the students to practice with. It also holds the students' interest more due to the fact that the writing is about a topic they find appealing. Another reason LEA is so effective is that the material created from the discussions is of the appropriate difficulty level for the students dictating. Therefore, the writing allows for opportunities for students to experience success in reading and writing as they practice from a piece they composed themselves. Some instructors are less comfortable with the language experience approach because of the lack of structure. There is no one way to conduct a lesson using LEA. There are an unlimited amount of directions that the recording of an oral discussion could go. Also, some teachers are unsure about the recording of incorrect grammar or spellings to be used as student reading material. However, this is really the most important rule to follow when using the language experience approach. The student's explanation of his experience must be written in his own words. If the student uses don't where the word doesn't should be, write down don't. It is important for the student to express themselves in their own way, and this should be respected. One final downfall to LEA is that sometimes students get too comfortable having the teacher write out their thoughts and thus become reluctant to try writing on their own. It is important to make sure that young students understand that sometimes they will do their own writing, and other times the teacher can write down their thoughts. As mentioned before, the language experience approach can be used with the entire class, with a small group of students, or in a one-on-one setting with a teacher and a student. Using LEA entails following through a process which has been broken into 6 important steps. The first step is for the student or students to choose a focus topic that will be discussed and written about. There are endless possibilities. Focus topics could include making various how-to charts describing things the students have made, or planning a field trip, such as talking and writing about it before and afterward, or simply recording a favorite story or memory that the students have. During the next step of LEA, which is the actual recording of the experience, the teacher writes what the students discuss. If stuck, the students may need guiding questions from the teacher to spark more discussion to add to the writing. Asking any of the 5 W questions, who, what, when, where, and why, can be helpful here. Once again, the importance of keeping the writing in the natural language of the students is stressed. Another way to keep the students' ownership in the recording is to use their names whenever possible. This allows them to feel connected to the material, and most often, students can read and write their names before many other words. Remember that there is no one way to record the students' experiences. It keeps learning exciting and interesting when the writing of their dictations takes a variety of forms. These could range from big books that would be used frequently in class, to short stories, to simple explanations below a drawing or a painting. When the students have finished their description or narration, review his writing and read it to him first. Then read it together. You may be surprised at how easily the student can read his own words, even words that generally would be considered difficult. Remember that reading a piece after it is completed is not the only time that this should be done. Return to this recording from time to time, using it as a teaching reference that the student can relate back to. Creating meaningful text is the main purpose of the language experience approach, and it is through the various ways in which this new meaningful text is used that the real learning occurs. Class-constructed texts should be displayed prominently for a few weeks and used to teach vocabulary, spelling, and reading fluency with. Other extending activities to do with the text are word scrambles, copying down parts of the writing on their own, or removing every 5th word and having the students fill in the blanks with or without a word bank, depending on their literacy level. One wonderful aspect of the language experience approach is that it can work very well to teach reading and writing to English as a second language students. This is because the two most important factors for determining whether reading material is appropriate for ESL learners is that the reading material must be simple enough to be understood by the learner with an appropriate amount of complexity. The other factor is that the reading should be interesting to the reader. When reading texts that originated from the learner's experience, both criteria are met because the degree of difficulty is determined by the ESL learner's own language, and the text is automatically related to the student's interests.